All right, the claim I was presented with is that global warming is a naturally occurring phenomenon. And I'm not up here to say that the Earth doesn't have periods of when it does warm up and cool down. But what he is stating is that the human involvement in global warming is not relevant to the case and should be, well, ignored. And the claims he has made to support this is that the greenhouse gases, which are the blame we have put onto the cause of global warming, and that government has promoted this for political reasons and funding. Now, again, I'm not saying that this isn't happening, that the Earth doesn't warm itself, but as human society has evolved, we are not helping the situation anyway. Now, first claim I would like to point out is that he is providing you with some unnecessary information. Whether or not the government is doing anything on this is not advocating his claim. Whether or not the government has any standpoint of whether this is a phenomenon or our fault, and when they're making money off of it, that doesn't help in saying that this is actually our fault or a phenomenon. The second point is when he actually presents information on global warming is where I'm going to show some false advocations and some new data on the matter. He has stated that in global warming there are still points that greenhouse gases are natural, that as the sun radiates the Earth and it evaporates, as it evaporates, it will produce carbon dioxide, methane, and other gases that are contributing to warming, and that these gases are necessary to keep the Earth in its current state of 16 degrees Celsius. However, due to certain research founded by the IPCC or the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change has shown that over the past 100 years, the average temperature on the Earth has increased by 1 degree Celsius. That doesn't seem much, but this is an average for the entire world. Heavily industrialized cities such as the US, Europe, China, and India have shown significant increases in temperature, which has affected this average. Also, he has also provided 2 time periods of which he admitted that there was an increase in temperature. This was during the period of 1880 and 1940, and 1945 to 1940 to 1965. What he didn't say is what happened during those time periods. In 1880 to 1940 was during the great industrial revolutions of our time. Thereby, as these new technological advances have been updated and reinvented and reestablished, the carbon dioxide emission from these factories and other such necessities has increased our carbon dioxide input for the past 100 years by 35%, as stated by the IPCC. Also, this stated that there was a time period before that which was known as the Little Ice Age. That was not during the Industrial Revolution, but right after it in 1870, when Europe had their Industrial Revolution. That is when the temperature showed it started to increase, and has been steadily on the rise since then. Also, that according to Agence France Presse, now that from 100 years ago, there was the carbon dioxide level in our atmosphere was at 280 has increased from 280 to 355 ppmv, or pounds per million volume. I was up here to say that global warming is not necessarily happening on its own. I'm saying that we as the human society are not helping it, and in fact are hurting our own society by actually making it hotter than it actually should be.
All right, Kyle, you've labeled the advocate's points pretty clearly and efficiently. The challenge to the relevance on the first point is okay. It does sound like you were, I'm not sure that you get much in making the challenge on the relevance. I think you're better off focusing on the cycle issue and the other information about the Industrial Revolution. The natural cycle is summarized pretty clearly, and you specifically cite the IPCC as a source to suggest that the results that we're seeing are not really relevant or not really related to a natural cycle, and so the inference is that it has to be human in nature. And I think you need to develop that point a little bit more. The one source that you've got is okay, but it's not particularly convincing, and you need to contrast it with the evidence that's being presented by the advocate on that particular point. At one point you said, well, the data on the cities shows that they're hotter, and I didn't think that that data was very clearly explained or cited in your presentation. Then there's an argument about causality that's sort of based on timelines, and you kind of have this little history lesson about sequencing the events, and I'm not sure that it comes out as clearly as for the audience as it seems to be to you. For instance, the notion that the Little Ice Age didn't occur during the Industrial Revolution but after it. I'm not sure the Industrial Revolution died, or ended. It's not, it's not like it was a 10-year time period. So I'm not sure that the Little Ice Age is all of a sudden not relevant to the conclusion that the advocate was making. I thought the better argument that you had was the CO2 measurement that you got to toward the end, and you should argue at this particular point that the CO2 amounts are going to have a dramatic impact on this, and they're not part of the natural cycle when they are so high in comparison to the way they've been in the past. And I think that's something that's sort of missing from the end of your argument there. All right. Excuse me. Thank you.